Welcome to the Fashion Department, a podcast that will explore the world of fashion and how it informs all aspects of life, from dress to lifestyle to food and travel. From stylists to designers to influencers to shop owners, you'll hear the latest scoop du jour. And now let me introduce you to your fabulous host, Tina Bricoli, a Greenwich, Connecticut-based wardrobe stylist and radio show personality. With over 20 years in the fashion industry, Tina will share her take on style, trends, the business of fashion, and her sartorial sense. Here's your host.
Hello, hello. Welcome, fashion friends. I'm so excited for the show I have for you today. We are talking about one of my absolute favorite things. If you know anything about me, you know my love of all things vintage, but especially vintage jewelry. And my guest today is someone who is clearly a collector. She sells it. She has her own business. And I can't wait for her to tell you all about her love of vintage jewelry. Please welcome, in the fashion department, Jennifer Ward. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. That was such a nice introduction. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, we're very excited. So Jen has a company called Ward Vintage, and I want to give out the handle right away. So IG handle, because people can shop immediately. Please, I encourage you to do it and get to your website. It's at Ward Vintage, W-A-R-D, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And she has fabulous stuff. Now, first of all, let me say, I feel like I'm a collector. I think I have a pretty good eye. I know what I like, at least. I don't think I'm an expert by any means. But I realize over time, just from shopping it and looking at it and curating, I realize when someone definitely knows their stuff. And I came across your page a while ago now, and probably during the pandemic, and I thought, oh, this is really good stuff. And then I just want to say, for the little things that happened once after I discovered you, which I think are very cool. So number one, I live in a town where you used to live, or your parents live, correct?
So I grew up in the town next door. Yes.
Okay, town next door. And then Jen lives in a town close to where I grew up. It's so funny. So I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. Then we both, recently found out we share a love of the New York Rangers. Yes. So that's always cool. And obviously the vintage jewelry. So it was funny, like all these little things that we had in common. And yet we met at a store. You were doing a trunk show in New Canaan in Connecticut. So
at Avon, which is one of my favorite stores. Christine, the owner, she's so great. And she's so nice to always have me. And it's just fun to be there and like meet my clients in person.
Yeah, and that's actually exactly how I first found you. So I was thinking about it. It's like, was it on Instagram? So I was shopping in Found, which is a very cute boutique in New Canaan, and they have this little section where there's jewelry. And I was like, whoa, who is doing? I even asked. I said, so who does the buying for the jewelry? And the girl said, oh, the owner, Christine. And I said, wow, she's got a great eye. And then a few of the pieces I had picked up, they said, oh, that's from Ward Jewelry. Have you ever checked out her stuff? I immediately went online. I bought a piece that was yours and started following you. And then from there, I met you at the trunk show, and here we are. So I wanted just to tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and your background, your professional background. How did you get into what you do now?
Sure. So my background is really in sales and marketing, in publishing. Most notably, I worked for InStyle and W, doing merchandising, which is like value-added programs with the advertisers. And my first job at InStyle, when they were hiring me, there was a job, they were hiring two people, one to work on computers and auto, and one to work on European fashion and fine jewelry. And I was like, please give me the European fashion and fine jewelry job. And luckily it worked out. So I did that for a while, and then got married and quickly had two boys, and left my job and became a mom, and was a mom for many years, and sort of always knew that I wanted to do something else, but wasn't sure what that would be. And it's the way I got into this is sort of funny. I mean, first I have to credit my parents. I mean, they're big collectors, art, furniture, antiques, china, silver. I mean, and they're very interesting, and they've sort of just curated this sort of beautiful life for themselves. So I think I was always influenced by that and saw how much they really enjoyed, the hunt and the thrill of the hunt. So that was kind of always in my background. And then where we live in New Jersey, it's very rural and there's not a ton of good shopping. So I have two friends. One is a designer, a decorator, and one is an antique dealer. And they were saying, we should get together and go to the gift show and buy some stuff and have trunk shows out here. And my one friend, who's the antique dealer, her mother lives in this beautiful estate out here, and she's like, we could host them at my mom's house, have these trunk shows. And we started doing it, and it was really well received, and it was fun. And then one day she said to me, let's go down to Princeton and go to some antique shows. And, they have this one place has cool vintage jewelry. And I walked in and I was like, okay, wow, this is really fun. Bought a couple of pieces. I can't even remember what they were. I wish I could remember which those first few pieces were. Bought them, marked them up a little bit for our next trunk show, and they sold really quickly. And I was like, okay, this is great. People want something that's interesting and different and high quality. And it just sort of snowballed from there. I was like, I'm doing this. And I didn't know what I was doing really at first. I just would look up vintage jewelry on the internet and see which brands spoke to me, and then started seeking them out, and, grabbed an Instagram handle and just kind of went with it. So
that's amazing. Isn't that often how the best things kind of come to fruition, though? I feel like whether it's a business or it's a hobby that turns into a business, or it's just something you love. Like, I love that you said, I started looking up things on the internet that spoke to me. I mean, that just is a testament to obviously how passionate you are about this and your pieces. I love that, the couple times I've met you now, I think I've met you in person twice, but we've chatted quite a bit, on Instagram or wherever. And your stuff, the story of everything. And I love that. I think that's so... just like it's refreshing. It makes me feel good. It makes me, credit to you. It's like, okay, she knows what she's buying and, can tell you the story behind it, and you clearly love it. So that shines through.
It really has been fun, and I really am passionate about it. So, yeah. Nice.
So, your business is strictly online right now, correct?
It is. I don't have a storefront, so it's mostly off of Instagram. I have a website, wardvintage.com, and then I sell it at trunk shows and by appointment in my home. But the Instagram thing has really been amazing. I mean, I ship. I've shipped all over the world, but to just about every state in the U.S. at this point. So it's really amazing, just the reach.
Congrats! That's awesome. That's actually where I was going with this, thinking how incredible. I mean, I've heard so many stories now how Instagram has become such a wonderful platform for the small business owner, and then really to become a large, business owner, and especially for something like this. And I think back to many years ago before Instagram, I thought, I don't think I would have ever guessed that I would be buying jewelry, even clothing, but especially jewelry online. I would have thought, no way. I need to feel it and see it. And here we are. But, through the process of the time and, curating and obviously social media, it's, made it so that you really can. Now, I think you have to still know what you're buying, and you have to trust the seller, which is important.
Yes.
I remember I used to always look up things on Etsy, which is great for some things, but not for all. And I've made a few mistakes myself thinking, looking at the seller, are they a trusted seller, looking at all of the pictures, asking questions, and then still being like, oh, like getting the item, being like, oh, it's, it's very light, it's not heavy, or it's just not what I thought. So, it's like a learning experience. But now there are more and more dealers like yourself and in all different things, not just jewelry, where I feel like you can see it's a trusted seller.
Yes.
So
it's interesting. I feel like, my business is probably one of the few that COVID helped it. I mean, of course that was a slow year, but people were like, okay, we can't go and see and touch and feel things. So we have to buy online. So I feel like the consumer became much more willing to buy off of Instagram through COVID.
Yeah. And I always say, there was the rainbow in the dark cloud. We had to find it because it was such a horrific time that, we all went through at different levels. Obviously, it affected us. But we had to think back and really look at the positives. I know for myself, there were a few positives that also came out of it, like similar to yours, where, it helped my business to a certain degree. For a certain degree, it hurt it, obviously.
Right.
But then I had to pivot. And I did. And my husband as well. He owns his own business and totally separate. And he also did. He's like, okay, well, changes had to be made. And it actually worked out in our favor. So it was something good that came out of something, terrible, a terrible time anyway.
Right.
But yeah. Okay. So let's talk about, what do you look for when you're collecting pieces or when you're buying pieces? Is there something you look for?
So honestly, like the brand is secondary to me for the most part. I just buy what I like. And now after amassing so many clients, like I know what they're looking for. So I feel, I really just buy what catches my eye. I mean, some of my favorite finds ever are just unmarked pieces. Who knows who made them, where they came from, what they're made of. I don't know, but the design is beautiful. So I just look for things that I like. And, sometimes people will say to me too, like, oh, I saw this thing on First Dibs. Is it worth it? I know their prices are really high. And I just always say, like, well, is it worth it to you? Like, if you think you're going to wear it and you don't mind paying that price, then great.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess that speaks to, I can say that about clothing as well. In what I do, people will say, like, same thing. I saw this on Net-a-Porter, or I saw this in this store, in this site. Is it worth it? A blazer or something. And I will say the same thing. A few little guidelines like, do you need that? I'll say, which is different, a little different than jewelry.
Jewelry.
Like, do you need that? But by the way, I think you always need jewelry. But, I'll say, do you have 5 black blazers and you're looking to buy a 6th? No, you probably don't need it. Or do you have 5 blazers that you don't wear and this one is classic and timeless and you'll wear it? So what value do you assign to it, I guess?
Right.
And I think that's what you have to ask. Listen, jewelry we all could use more of. I feel it's the frosting on the cake. And it is timeless and it is an investment, depending on all different budgets. So yeah, I get it. So tell us a little bit about the types of designers and the brands that you sell. I know you said you buy really what you love, but are there certain designers or brands that usually will catch your eye that people would love or gravitate towards?
Yes. I mean, there are some, like Marcel Boucher, for example. I mean, his pieces are beautiful. I believe he worked for, I don't know, Cartier or something, and then struck out on his own to create pieces that looked really real. So that's one. I mean, I do love Chanel. It's very hot right now. It's hard to find, but the quality is amazing of the vintage, not the new stuff.
Yeah.
What else? And then some American designers. I mean, even like there's special pieces by like Monet or Napier that I love. Well, maybe like the vast majority of their stuff is There's some things that I definitely like always am looking for from those designers. So, it's really arranged. There are a few special ones, like pieces you can really never get your hands on, like William DeLillo. I mean, his stuff is amazing. And I think examples of it are held at like the Met and the MoMA, and, the pieces sell for like $1 bazillion, but they are beautiful. So those would be a few.
I always feel like this is one of my little secrets. Maybe it's not really a secret, but I always look when I'm a member at the Met. And whenever I go to any museum, but especially the Met Museum in Manhattan, I always go to the gift shop and I always look at their jewelry.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, and again, it's not Chanel, but sometimes it's really good pieces. And sometimes, like you mentioned before, it's like, an average piece. It's not pricey, but it's not. But it just speaks to me. I feel like there's often really good little hidden gems in the store at the museum, right?
And I sometimes have MMA pieces. I mean, they can be beautiful. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. I also like, and I find it very interesting, and you touched on this briefly, there's lots of designers out there that over time had worked for different houses. Mm-hmm. So maybe they designed for Chanel or Gucci or whatever it is, and then they went off on their own. So their name is not known, but unless it's like if you know, like they're not Chanel, they're not branded under a house. or an atelier, but they were once designing from, for 10 years at whatever,
Yes.
Givenchy or something, which is very cool. I found a lot of that, or I tend to find a lot of that, like especially when you go to Paris. And I'll always ask. So I always feel like, don't you think that's important for people to ask, like, oh, tell me about this designer? Because I found that out that way. Like, oh, I picked up something that this person worked for Chanel from this time to this time, but you wouldn't know their name because, again, their name isn't Karl Lagerfeld.
Right.
Right?
And there's just so much to learn. And I'm by no means an expert. And I, as I said, I tend to buy what I love, and I have learned a ton. And I do research, but you're right. I mean, you're always like, I was in Paris this summer and I picked up a few pieces and I was like, this is incredible. I've never heard of this brand before. And of course, the guy in the flea market I was buying it from was like, I have no idea. Like, are you going to pay me for it or not? So, it is, the history of it is cool, but there's so much to learn still for me.
Yeah. And you're right to say, it's great. I love learning about it, but at the end of the day, if you find a piece and it just speaks to you and you love it and it's not signed, or it is signed and nobody knows who that is, like, you should still, buy it or think about it or whatever because it speaks to you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like jewelry is often like color. So I get clients all the time that say, oh, I can't wear, and you fill in the blank with whatever color.
Right.
Like, I can't wear yellow. I don't wear pink. I don't wear, and we go on. And I say, okay, and I'm not trying to force them into something that they don't like. Mm-hmm. But sometimes I'll say, well, everyone, or they say, I can't wear. And I'll say, well, do you like that color? But you think you just can't wear it, or you don't like it? And they'll say, well, no, I like it, but I can't wear it. And I'll say, well, everyone can wear every color. You just have to find the right shade. So is it warm or is it cool? The cool tone version of pink is, fuchsia. Mm-hmm. The warmer tone version of pink is, like a carnation pink, and so on. So you just have to find which shade suits you. So I feel like it's kind of the same with jewelry. I feel like, oh, I don't wear chunky, or I don't wear silver, or I don't wear gold. And again, I'm like, well, you have to find what speaks to you and kind of what works, right?
It's so true. Everyone makes these rules for themselves. Like, I have people who say to me all the time, like, well, I'm really petite, so I can't wear big jewelry. And one of my closest friends is the most petite person, and she wears the hugest jewelry, and she looks incredible. So it's,
yeah.
But at the end of the day, and I am honest with people when they're asking me, what do you think? And I'll just say, like, you have to be comfortable. So
yeah.
If you're going to buy it and just every time you put it on, it's going to bum you out, then, it's not worth it. But
yeah, you have to love it. I agree. And by the way, side note, so I have smaller wrists and I have smaller ankles. Uh-huh. So my whole life, and by the way, I, studied dance my whole life. You would think I would have had like really cool calves, and I always had tiny little calves, and I was always like, I don't have any calf muscles. But I figured out quickly at some point in my life, I like to wear big chunky bracelets because of this little skinny wrist.
Yeah,
and my
sense.
I used to call my ankles olive, like I would say I'm like olive oil. Now I'm dating myself here, but yeah, it's Popeye. I know but it's Popeye. So I used to say like, oh, my little olive oil ankles. But guess what? I can wear big chunky boots that someone with maybe a thicker ankle couldn't or wouldn't feel comfortable in. Mm-hmm. Like I kind of play off of the skinny little ankle. And I think that's important to know, like kind of know your pluses and go from there. And I always looked at my ankles and wrists as negative. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. It looks really cool when I stack a bunch of bracelets on, and then I love my skinny little wrists. Then suddenly I'm not so unhappy. So, all right. So speaking of, you mentioned buying in Paris. And I remember, by the way, when you went to Paris this summer, I saw it on Instagram and I was like, oh, I can't wait to see what she comes back with. I was so envious. So where do you source from? Is it all over?
It's all over. I mean, I go to flea markets, antique shows. I've sussed out dealers on the internet that I work with very closely and who have amazing things. Estate sales, I always say sort of wherever I can get my hands on it. That Paris trip was a little bit of a fluke. My sister was going on a work trip and said, you should come. And I did. And the truth is, if we were doing it any other way, if I was just flying over there to source jewelry, it would never be worth it because the prices, they're high. But it just kind of worked out that I had a free place to stay, and I bought my ticket on miles, and I was like, I'm going. So
nice. It did work out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that. I would have been like, yeah, bags are packed. You need my bag. You don't even have to ask me twice. I'm there.
Yes.
That's great. So what's your favorite way to style costume jewelry? By the way, I'm loving the necklace you have on today.
Thank you. It's Fendi.
I knew it.
So really for me, two ways. One is that I love a statement piece, whether it's, earrings or a necklace. And I often say to people like, that piece is your outfit. And a lot of times people will say, I have, a plain black dress and I don't know what to wear. And I'm like, choose your jewelry first. Outfit can be second. If it's just plain, like this is going to jazz it up. So I like a statement. And I also like to just layer pieces in with my real stuff. Like I have, a bangle that I wear on a weekly basis that, it looks real. And I just put it on with the real bracelets that I have. And, it looks great. No one's ever going to think that it's not real. Well, maybe because it's me, they will think it's not real.
So your suggestion is the rule is there's really no rule.
I think no rules. I mean, and the older I get too, I feel like that with dressing too. Like if it makes you happy, go for it. Like,
agree.
Just be you.
Yeah, agree. But I still get a lot of people that will ask almost like they want the rule or they want to be in the know.
Yes.
And so I'm sure you get that too. And I like what you said, by the way, something I kind of say too. If there's a statement piece, just let that be the outfit. I say the same thing. I always say that's the hero piece of the outfit.
Piece. I love that.
Yeah.
That.
So yeah. So I always say that, and I'm like, that's the hero piece. And I love that you say, if you're to start with the jewelry, that might be your piece. People think I'm crazy sometimes when they'll say, like, where do you start when do you start with like your pants? Do you start with the top? Do you start with the silhouette? And often I say it changes almost every day. Or every week, and it could be anything. It could be I start with a pair of earrings. This happened the other day. I had a pair of vintage clip earrings that finally I got around to changing the clip to a post, which I was proud of myself that I did because I'm not handy like that. And I was like, I'm wearing these earrings. I had no idea what I was going to wear with it, but I'll figure that out. And it was all about the earring. And I ended up wearing, so there were jade earrings with these little rhinestones in them. They were pretty big. So I ended up wearing like a fitted black turtleneck, hair up. Yeah, so it was very like, it wasn't about the outfit. It was about the earrings. And they were the hero piece. Many times I'll start with like a bag or a ring or a blouse, like something, and then build the outfit around that. So
or shoes. If I ever when I get a new pair of shoes, I'm always like, okay, what am I wearing with these?
Right. You build it around, and I think that's a smart way or a fun way to do it. I think it's easier sometimes because you'll find things, you'll look in your closet and look at things differently because you're looking to see what goes. Yeah. Like I was thinking, I don't normally gravitate towards black. I don't always wear like all black. Well, in this case, the other day I did because I'm like, well, the green earrings are going to be, the center point. So, okay. And then what do you think? Well, first of all, what's your favorite piece that you own? I need to hear this.
Well, it's, surprisingly, I have a pretty small personal collection, and I don't know, it's funny. It's just eclectic, like what I've held on to, some sort of hippie earrings and then some like really nice pieces. So people always say to me like, oh, your personal collection must be huge. And it's not. But one really special thing I bought, I think the first year I was doing this, it's sort of a Givenchy collar necklace. It looks like the sun almost. I can't even explain. It has sort of these like leafy things that hang down. And I remember, I think I paid like $300 for it. And I was like, oh my God, like, am I really going to spend $300 or $400, whatever it was, on this piece? And now, I mean, I would, I don't blink about spending that on a really nice piece. But at the time, it just seemed like huge. And I've only ever had it one other time. And I sold it to a friend who gave it to his wife, and I promised to never wear it at the same party that she was at. But
you're a good friend.
It's just a really special piece, and I don't think I'll ever let it go.
Oh, I love that. Sometimes I feel like it's hard to the question you mentioned about like, should I invest in it or not? But then looking back, and by the way, I get the same question. Oh, your closet must be amazing. And I always say this. Yes, I have amazing pieces.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think my closet is amazing. It's well organized and I have some amazing pieces, but I also have some very average ho-hum pieces that are meant to go with other things.
Right.
They're like not every piece can be the hero.
Not
right?
every piece can be the hero. And that's why I always say you need a jewelry wardrobe. And people
Yes.
are like,
Oh,
but you do. I mean, there's some.
I love that.
And
I'm going to use that one. You need a jewelry here. You need a jewelry wardrobe.
yes.
And then what do you think? So what do you think is your favorite decade in fashion? If you had to pick one, I feel like this is probably like picking a favorite child.
No, for me, I think it's pretty easy. I'm going to say 60s because I think there's such a mix of the really classic styles and the really like boho sort of hippie styles. And that's what I love, both of those things.
Yeah.
So I think I would have to say 60s. Don't need to go back to the 80s anytime soon.
Isn't that funny? And it's like it's so here and in our face, all the clothing and I'm like, I try to say it's definitely not my favorite for clothing or for jewelry. But I do every now and then see kind of something and I'm like, okay, well, how can I take that and make it mine and make it like my own and not look like I'm in the 80s?
Right. Which of course you can do because you're so talented. So that's great. I love it.
Yeah. Not easy sometimes, but I try. And then what's trending right now? Is there anything or I should say what's selling right now? Is there anything that people are like, do you have, I think I know what you're going to say.
Well, I think first of all, what's trending? I think vintage jewelry in and of itself is trending right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Within that, I mean, the Chanel market is crazy. I mean, I always say this, but there's a bracelet I had a few times and I sold it both times for $850. And I was like, the next time I find that bracelet, I'm going to keep it. Well, I've seen that bracelet and I can't find it for less than $2,400.
Wow.
The prices have just gone insane. And it's kind of funny because people are always like, we want Chanel, Chanel, Chanel. And then I'm like, okay, but it's, this is what it costs. And then it's like, oh,
yeah,
but it's just hot, but with good reason. I mean, it's, it's beautifully made. And I always say, a lot of this jewelry is for fun, but the Chanel you'll hand down with your fine jewelry because the value will hold, hopefully. But just in terms of, in general, I mean, I often joke that I'm running an earring business, like because people just want earrings.
Really?
Yeah.
Earrings.
Yeah. And
so
they're the easiest,
sorry, go ahead.
They're the easiest to find. I'm always low on bracelets. I'm pretty good on necklaces, but earrings are just, they're everywhere. So it's really easy to find earrings.
I was just looking through. It's funny you said earrings. I was just yesterday, I had a look in mind because I saw something that inspired me and I thought, I want to recreate that look, but my version. And I wanted a big, chunky gold earrings, not too like dangly, but more, I'm a hoop girl. I like hoops of all different sizes. Like I have tiny ones on today, but I'll wear big, 80s style hoop with the right look.
Well, I also say you need a whole hoop wardrobe. I mean, you can't just have one pair of hoops. You have to have
right. They very different looks. Honestly, it's like shoes. It's like flats versus heels versus like a wedge. Yes. Very different looks. Yeah. But I was looking through my wardrobe and I realized, this is what I'm missing. And this is what I have the least of are big chunky gold earrings in particular.
I can help you with that, Tina.
Okay, I'm sure you can. But the bracelets, like I said, because of the little wrist, lots of necklaces. Rings would probably be, I do like a lot of rings, but I don't have as many. The least is the earring, big chunky gold earrings. So that's on my wish list. All right, so what I want, but we're almost out of time. But before we go, first of all, Ward Vintage is your Instagram handle, and the website is?
wardvintage.com.
Perfect. So I wanted to end the show, if you could give a few tips on buying vintage pieces. Like what are some things that people should look for, whether it's, a designer or not? What are like right off the bat, what should people look for when buying vintage jewelry?
I mean, above and beyond what you love, if you're looking for a quality piece, I mean, a lot of people say this, but it's true. Just like the weight of it, something that's not flimsy. Obviously, if you see something that already has wear on it, I mean, I come across pieces all the time that are beautiful, but they're already worn and I just have to pass them by, sadly. So look for things that are in good shape. and that speak to you. And like, it's also realize it's, it's not a big investment. It's not like buying fine jewelry. So like you can do something fun. I mean, vintage should be fun, and it's a place to take a risk, I think. So those are the tips that I would give people.
Great tips. I love that. Take a risk. I'm with you on that. I agree. And I also want to mention one thing, circle back. You mentioned before about you wearing your costume jewelry with your fine jewelry. Mm-hmm. Absolutely 100%. I do the same. I wear, a very nice watch, and I'll sometimes have like a fine, maybe it's a Cartier or something on my wrist with tons of costume jewelry, and it all blends together. And whether you can tell or can't tell, I don't really care. I just like it, right. So I love that.
No, it's beautiful. And honestly, it's practical. I mean, the cost of gold is so high. It's just, there's so many pieces that I know that I would like that are, and the prices are just crazy. So it's just, it's fun to be able to buy the costume stuff.
Buy vintage. We're tapping into the whole sustainability thing and upcycling, so it's all good.
I mean, absolutely. That is one thing I've always been environmentally minded and didn't set out to create a green, business, quote unquote, but it's actually the thing I think I'm the most proud of. And it's just like I can sleep at night knowing that I'm not really doing any harm.
Yes, so buy more vintage.
Yes.
All right, Jen, thank you so much for joining us in the fashion department.
Was so nice. I appreciate it.
Yes, we love you, and we hope we'll come back soon. And in the meantime, everyone needs to check out at Ward Vintage is Instagram, and you can click on there. You can ask, you can DM her. She answers back very quickly. Make sure you look at her stories because there's always new stuff, I noticed. And check out her website as well. We'll talk soon. Thanks so much, Jen.
Great, thank you.
Thanks for joining me in the fashion department. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. For more inspiration and fashion content, check out my website and follow along on Instagram at Tina_the Fashion Stylist. And a special thanks to the Factory Underground Studio for recording and producing this show. See you next time.